Kim faced backlash. Beyoncé hit supply chain snags. J.K. Rowling stumbled going digital. Even icons get knocked down. The win? They got back up. Selena Gomez, Rihanna, Jessica Alba. They didn't just build brands. They built meaning. But turning vision into reality? That's the hard part. Especially when you're competing with Apple, Nike, and Amazon on a shoestring budget. We asked 12 entrepreneurs who've been there, done that, and kept going when others quit. They've navigated chaos, built real brands, and learned what actually works without the safety net of fame or funding. Let's get into it.
Entrepreneurs often find that running a business is very different from their initial dreams and must balance their expectations with real-world outcomes. But what do you wish you knew before starting your business? We asked the experts.
1.
Should have taken the time to build my relationship map, right? Making relationships, meeting folks, for coffee before, after work, and talking a bit more about my personal life in the workplace. When I came to work back then, it was, what's the job? I'd get the job done, and I was only focused on the job, not the water cooler talk and taking 99 breaks or going outside for a cigarette break. I was working. And those were values and the mentality I had that I got from the military. But now I wish I would have socialized, but I really wasn't in a position because 1, I'm a mom of 5. I had kids at home. So when I got off work, I had to rush home, cook dinner, do homework, those types of things. But looking back, I don't know how I could have changed it, maybe hired a nanny if I could afford it, but I would have socialized more to build the relationship map because it would have been easier for me to get my business started.
2.
Remember, most people are opening a business have never owned a business before. So, I'm not saying all, but there's a high percentage, 70% or 65%. So these people are now they're free from the corporate regime, if you will, who tells you when to get up and when to go to work and where to travel and when you're going to train and everything else. So you have to make sure that you look in the mirror and you have the discipline to do this on your own. It's any business that you open, and again, I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just trying to be real. Any business you open, it takes a nuclear energy plant to get the first 2-3 years off the dime. You're the Energizer Bunny Rabbit. Anybody and everybody you speak to is about your business. It should be, let's put it that. I don't care if you're an engineer, ice cream, sneakers, you name it. Everybody that you ever in the shop, right, or the grocery store, you should be handing your cards to all the people near you. But the point is that the mistakes people make, a lot of times they think the money is the answer. The money is not the answer. The money is a problem if you don't manage it. What's the answer is investing in yourself. You should be studying the rich dad, poor dad mentality. You should be studying the business books on how to run a business. Dave Ramsey, now I'm learning, has some good stuff. But reality is you should be studying Michael Gerber. The E-Myth is a phenomenal book. Jack Stack, The Great Game of Business from 1997, 98, great business book to grow your business. So these are books you want to read and understand. You want to get some counseling. You want to go to SCORE. You want to reach out. Just because you're in business for yourself doesn't mean you have to be in business by yourself. It means that you don't. And I notice it's with all the franchisees I have, and when they go into their own business, they kind of stop going to training. They stop investing in themselves. Now, your business is not your greatest asset. Your house is not. You are your greatest asset. So when you're in business, in any of the Cartidge franchisees, I am always motivating them to study your profit and loss, because that's 1, you have money, and 2, reinvest in yourself. Go to the sessions. Take a week or 2 a year to learn. Go away, clear your head, be with other entrepreneurs that are energetic. I went up to MIT for 4 years. I was part of Birthing the Giants, Young Entrepreneur Organization, CEO clubs. I've been a member for 40 years with some of these places, or 30 years. So my point is that you are just beginning your next career, but you have to really reinvest in yourself and then get a board of directors. When I say directors, not directors, a mastermind of 4 or 5 business people that have a lot more experience than you do, have no skin in the game, are not competitor, but they can advise you on what to do if you meet with them once a quarter. It's healthy to get your to get all your internal stuff out, good, bad, or ugly. It's good for you to see it so your family wins.
3.
When I started my second brand, which is my personal brand, my coaching business, I'm going to be honest, it was really messy. And what I mean by messy is that I had an idea in my head, but I just didn't get it down on paper. And I think I probably should have done that, but I didn't know what I wanted it to look like. So I kind of took the time to really immerse myself and learn every step of the way. And a light bulb went off every time I was supposed to learn a lesson. And I kind of added that into the business where it was like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I didn't think of this. I should be having an online course academy for my small businesses so that they can go on and learn. So it's just little bits and pieces along the way that I've learned that before, when I started my company, I just threw it all together and went, oh, this will be perfect. And then I learned after the fact. This was learning with me actually starting and growing the business. I would definitely tell myself to pay attention to everything because there's a lesson to be learned every step of the way. Just because something comes at you like a challenge, it doesn't mean it's a roadblock. What can you learn from that lesson that's going to take you to the next level? And that's how you get ahead. That's how you grow, is if you don't look at them as obstacles, you look at those as opportunities. And that is truly what I've taken from business to business in growing everything I've done.
4.
You learn to do by doing. I think at the beginning, I was very nervous. And when you work at a bigger company, you have big budgets and you have lots of support in the system. But when you're a small startup, you have to just kind of make decisions and keep moving forward. And when you get more information, if you need to change your mind or change direction, you pivot and you keep moving forward. I think at the beginning, I was a little slower than I needed to be because I thought I had to have everything ready, everything perfect. But I think as I got going, I realized, if you're 80% of the way there, keep going. Put a stake in the ground and do your market research and keep moving forward. And if you have to change your message, change your product offering, change any aspect, change is part of learning and growth. And so I think I got more comfortable with that, but it took a little while to give me the confidence. I think one of the other mistakes I made, big companies, like I said, you have the time and the runway to be able to do lots of market research and have a high degree of confidence in every decision. And startups, you don't have the time or the budget. And especially when you work with small companies and technology companies, the market is changing all the time. So I had to get more comfortable doing scrappy research, not knowing all the answers, making a decision, moving forward.
5.
The good thing is that when you have a traffic source skill like SEO, you can drive traffic to anything. As long as you have a solid operator behind you, then any kind of business can be created, especially if you bring in people who have had previous experience in that exact industry as well, which is exactly what we did from the start. So that was extremely helpful. Apart from, let me add this quick, seasonality. We did not expect the seasonality associated with this brand. And in hindsight, that was a big miss in our research.
In today's highly competitive business landscape, having a competitive advantage is essential for driving growth and achieving success. But how do you outsmart, outplay, and outlast your competitors to gain that crucial edge? We ask the experts.
1.
Fast way of gaining an edge over competitors with SEO is link building. So reaching out to other websites that are in your industry, other blogs, different things like that, offering either a free product or, hey, we'd love to write a post on your website, and then include a link back to your site. So you could give out free products in exchange for like a review on a blog and different things like that. Like if you can build up a backlink profile that's better than your competitors, you're going to rank a hell of a lot quicker, faster and longer in Google.
2.
Well, I definitely think that me being me is a huge competitive edge because if you think about it,
there's literally no one else like me in the world. There's literally no one else like you in the world. So when we talk about competition or things like that, like if someone is just wash, rinse, repeating what other people are saying or trying to just duplicate what other people have done, where is the differentiation in the marketplace for it? There really isn't. So you being you and you stepping into you and you talking like you and dressing like you and being you, no one else can compete with that because they're not you. And the right people are going to flock to you again, and the wrong people are going to not flock to you. So why not just give yourself permission to be yourself unapologetically and let that be a differentiating factor for you and your business?
3.
When you are authentically yourself, you know what real estate you own versus your competition. When you get your messaging right and you only stand for one or two things at the most. The problem is people want to just tell you 10 things that they're good at. That's a big mistake. People can't remember 10 things, so they don't remember anything. But when I started my company, I said, we are all about marketing. If you have any marketing problem, please contact me. I'm sure if I can't help you, I can find someone who can. So what's great is, 22 years later, when people hear about someone having a marketing issue, they go, oh, I know the marketing lady who I can introduce you to. So that's really the kind of best case scenario. If your competitors are trying to do 10 different things, no one's going to recommend them for all 10 things, and they're not going to remember what they are anyway. Find out what you're really good at, what's unique, special, and different about you. Own that real estate in your customer's brain. Reinforce it in all of the touch points on your website, when you're talking to people, in your brochures. Everything communicates. Your email signature, how you dress, what you drive. It all needs to tell a consistent story so that you build trust and that you're repeating all I think when things are simple and consistent, that's how you lock in what it is that you do better than anybody else. And when you own that, and you do a great job every day consistently, you show up, you do the work, you reinforce it, that's really when things start to gel, because all the roads converge, and then you become kind of identified with your brand in a way nobody else can own that, because you live it every day. And in my experience, that really is the killer advice, to just you be you, don't worry about everybody else and what they're saying. Be the best you can be. And when you do that, that's magic.
4.
I think the biggest key for us from the get-go was don't try to copy them. We're doing consulting, and we looked at a lot of products in the market to say, hey, can we use this to help our customers? We didn't have to build custom software. We could have used a platform that was on the market to do it. And we saw in those platforms deficiencies that were like, this doesn't actually meet their need. It's not customizable enough. It's too complicated. And so don't try to copy your competitors. Don't assume they're doing things the right way. Know your target market, know what makes you special, and ensure you stay true to that. Don't chase the fads, and stay focused on a limited number of things that really align with who you are, to be able to make sure you finish them and move forward incrementally. So I definitely would encourage people to research your competitors, but maybe focus on their weaknesses as much as their strengths. You gotta know where the gap is in the market you're filling, and you gotta make sure your product actually fills it.
5.
We started out in Etsy, although we recently moved out of Etsy because we are already a very established brand and our brand is popular in Europe. We constantly get customers from France, United Kingdom, even as far as Switzerland and Australia. So how we started off is that we are in a very competitive market and we are playing along with big players in the red ocean. Now, one thing that comes to my mind is that how do I find the blue ocean in this competitive environment? So we do not have the funding as much as other companies. Some of them are backed by countries' government. We are just a small minority, new immigrants to US. Now, how do I stand out among the big players? So one thing is that I have to find customer who values authentic, who values ethical sourcing, who values quality. And the first platform we started was in Etsy. And we are in line with our customer in terms of the value of the environment and design. So from there, we build our reputations and we communicate constantly with our customer. If they would like to shorten the pants, we'll do it free for you. If you would like to have a special embroidery of your initials on the suit, we'll do it for you. So with this extra customer service and constant communication with our customers, so much so that they are like my friend, we gain a lot of referral. So in terms of advertising, we are not like big player who can invest a few millions, but through referral and authentic, genuine customer service, we gain a lot of customers who keep on coming back and refer their friends. And then from there, we are now no longer just an Etsy brand. We are out and we are on our own and we are thriving.
6. If you see me, I'm mixed. I'm half black, half Italian. So when we were coming up with the scotch, I never thought about the niche in this aspect. It was like, you're the first black-owned scotch out there. And you do know you're the first and only American veteran-owned scotch. I'm like, I am? I had no clue. So by having those two things, I've developed a loyalty base amongst those two communities, if you will. I could even say minority, whether I don't have to say black, I could probably say minority. Some of my strongest supporters, one guy's Indian, another guy's Puerto Rican, obviously the black community, obviously the veteran community. Those were things. But to compete with the bigger companies, I think there's only one way to do it. Have excuse my French, a damn good product. Have a good one. I mean, that's it. If you're Italian and I'm Italian and I come up with the first Italian-owned scotch and it isn't that good, why would you drink it? You really can't. So you're not going to. So reality is I have to be able to appeal to you. Hey, you're Italian, I'm Italian, you're black, I'm black, you're veteran, I'm veteran. That gets me in the door. The beautiful bottle gets your eye attention, The ratings gets your attention. The price gets your attention. All those things do is just get the person to buy the very first bottle. People will come back for second and third and fourth bottles if you have two things, price and quality.
Love it or hate it, obstacles are part of the package when it comes to running a business. But how do we face these challenges and overcome them? We ask the experts.
1.
I think the major problem that I had was I had the idea for my company for at least 10 years before I started it. It took a major life event, thinking that I was probably going to be laid off from my job, which did eventually happen, but it was about a year later. But it took that kind of fear to turn my ideas into action because I was afraid. I was afraid to fail. I was afraid that I would make mistakes. I didn't trust that I knew what I was doing. I have a master's degree in creative writing, and I didn't trust my ability to be a creative writer. I spent 11 years in journalism, and I still, didn't trust my ability to hang my sign out there and say, I'm a writer, I can write for you. And I think that's what I would not do again. And that's something I remind myself of constantly when I'm thinking about hiring or adding a service or changing a service or updating my pricing, is I just remind myself that fear held me back for so long and I could have been where I am now a lot sooner. And so it's best to just get started, take that first step, and, every step that you take, the fear gets a little bit less and a little bit less and a little bit less. But if you let it keep you from starting, then you'll never get there.
I of course have lessons learned. Of course there are things that I've done that I realized maybe just weren't the best decisions and maybe mistakes. I think one thing when I look back on really starting the company, when I look back and think of something that I wouldn't do again, or if I could go back and tell myself like, hey, that's not the way to do it. Maybe just how much I invested up front. I know logically that the skateboard model is the way to go, where, you know, you really start small, you build a skateboard before you build a car. But I think there were definitely areas where I was just overzealous and overexcited and maybe spent a little too much on advertising dollars or a little too much on, you know, a partnership or going with a new vendor or something like that. I wish that I would have gone back and stuck to that skateboard model of starting small, putting the wheels on before I put tires on, and sticking to low investments before running. I am the type of person that I don't like to crawl. I don't like to walk. I like to just run. And that's sometimes very beneficial in starting a business. And there's certainly some of that is the reason I am a business owner. But I think that also can be detrimental. Certainly a lesson learned for me, which is why I specifically surround myself with people that I know will take the reins for a second, say, hey, I hear that, let's slow down. What about this? Because I know that I need that sort of balance in my world. So it helps me with hiring. It helps me with who I surround myself with, but it certainly is a mistake that I have logged.
3. The number one obstacle that we've faced lately, and we've had a realization of internally multiple times in the businesses lately, has been hiring A players only. So before, we had the tendency of hiring people who were less skilled, who were on a smaller wage. And then what we've then realized is actually this is taking a lot more time for us, like C-suite side of things, to actually go in and manage and hire and then fire and everything around that. So we would rather hire players who are going to be with the business for a very long time, who can then teach us something. And I've heard it so much and I've brushed it off in the past, but now I realize that is so incredibly important, and we missed it so much before.
4.
Yeah, so we launched in December of 2013. So we've been on the market about 11 years now, and as a paid product for about 8 years. But one of the biggest challenges that we faced early on was our product was on the internet for anyone to use. And we thought, everybody's going to sign up and start using it to build amazing solutions. And some of our first customers were scammers who were trying to abuse our platform. And so just realizing that not all of the problems you're going to be solving as a business owner are going to be about delivering on the value you thought about. It's going to be about dealing with all of the other things that come along with that and being prepared to tackle those head on too.
5.
So I think the biggest obstacle for me was, can I make a living? Can I sustain myself? And what will that look and feel like outside of a world? You're used to getting paid every 2 weeks. You're used to, if you take a vacation, you're still getting paid during vacation. You've got a team around you who can help carry things in your absence. All of those things really, for me, initially sort of made me question myself and maybe lose a little confidence. Like, can I really make this happen? Will it happen? So that was the biggest obstacle. And so having just some fortitude and really some resilience around, you know what, it will work out. And the way I did that and the way I sort of shored up for myself, sort of to quiet those voices that were sort of getting me to doubt myself, is the way I started that consultancy. It's probably not the best entrepreneurial lesson, but maybe it is, because it shows you the power of network. I think our network is super important in this business. I didn't launch with an ad campaign. I didn't tell any of the trades in my vertical that I was doing this. In fact, I was like, I'm just doing this right now to avail my schedule of more flexibility and an income while I figure out what's next for me. I contacted 3 CEOs, a former boss, someone I admire who had been a mentor to me in the industry, and just somebody whose work I admired. And I told them my story. I was going through a health crisis in my family, thankfully not me. I was going to need some flexibility that prevented me from really showing up at work the way I typically showed up, 150%, traveling all over the world, leading, charging, very impactful teams. And I was looking for work. So if they had any holes in their senior leadership bench, if they needed any counsel with business development, if they needed a creative plug who could sort of do anything, I was their gal. And all 3 of them not only instantly gave me work, they gave me a lot of work and said my name in rooms where I wasn't. So if they had somebody who had an absence on their team, or somebody was, as I said, leaving for maternity leave, or they needed a senior person to come in and help coach maybe a team to a new business pitch, I instantly got referred and a reputation for being able to do it efficiently with insight and to help them win towards success. So I became sort of like a intel inside, if you will, for other agencies. And that's how it started. So my network helped me and being honest about my reality, why I was doing it, why I called on them to guide me and help me, and that they had my permission to please, if you think anyone could benefit from this under these circumstances, please feel free to say my name. And all three of those strategies paid off for me.
Every business starts with a vision laid out in a business plan that covers goals, budget, and steps to start. It's your roadmap to success. But how do we create that vision? We ask the experts.
One.
It started in my journey as having a coaching business. It started out as a podcast. I wanted to be like Martha Stewart. I'm like, we'll combine all this stuff. I love cooking. I love entertaining. I love all these things. So we're going to make my podcast like Martha Stewart. So it started out as the Fashionista life. And then I kept hearing from people that were coming on my show that I had for business, all their little pain points that they had as a business owner. And then the second season was more business people, again, talking about, here's a pain point. This is a problem that I'm facing. And I just went, oh my gosh. It's like all of these entrepreneurs, it's a common thread running through all of them. They all are like, I have no idea how to do this or when I should be doing this. They didn't have direction. They didn't have that roadmap. Okay. They didn't have any guidance. And that was really it. It was an aha moment after interviewing all of these small business owners that, yes, there's coaches out there, but how many of those coaches have actually walked in that small business owner's shoes? Really? Like how many? And people advertise, I've done this, but have you? And I know in my heart of hearts that I have walked in their shoes more than once. And that was really just the light bulb moment that went, you know what? I can help these people. I know I can because I have honestly been there.
Two.
When we talk about visioning, for me, it becomes a very selfish. It's easier if it's selfish. It's easier if it solves my problem to think about a vision. When it comes to the systems that we built, as an example with Pro Valet, my vision for Pro Valet is for a small business service company, and specifically it's the regular interval service companies that we focus on. Pool service, lawn care, home cleaning, home watch, chimney sweeps, it's alarm guys, wherever there's this regular service that can be delivered. These guys are typically operating on a pencil and a piece of paper. My vision is that anybody in any one of those businesses will be using Pro Valet in the very near future to automate their lives and remove the manual aspects and the manual administration of the business. So we help people automate their scheduling. We automate dispatch. We automate invoicing. We've also automated the customer payment side of it. And undergirding all of that is the automation of communication. Every one of these companies that I talk to, they all talk about how they deal with their customers with phone, email, and text, which is great, except that none of it is attached to actually running the business. There's a process of, hey, I have to write it down on a piece of paper, and then I have to put it into something else in order to effectively manage that request for service. And what we've done is we've put all of that into Pro Valet so that we're automating somebody's administration and record keeping and invoicing and addressing the customer's needs. So we picked pool service as the first industry to go after because it was the initial inclination to help a pool service business run it really efficiently. And in building the platform, we built it agnostically. So you can modules, and you don't have to be a pool service company. You could be a lawn care company. We have home watch companies that use the platform. You could be a home cleaning service. The modules don't care. You set your service order up the way you want to run your business, and then everything else runs flawlessly behind that. So what I would like to say is we're taking the manual elements of managing a business, which is terribly time consuming and we're automating all of that. We're in the 21st century. It's time for these small service companies to get the leg up in their business that allows them to actually do what they love to do. Go serve people and leave the administration to the system.
3.
So the timing of me starting the business, it was right after 9/11. Marketing was the very first thing every company cut from their budget because the stock market crashed and businesses were very worried about conserving their cash and preserving their budgets. Basically, there were no marketing jobs. I was only in my early 30s and wasn't ready to retire even though I had success with 3 startups. And because I had helped 3 startups become very successful, the investors, the venture capitalists, the private equity guys, they all reached out to me after 9/11 and said, we need help because we have portfolio companies that need expertise and we don't have a marketing department. Can you help me? And my first instinct was, I'm not a consultant. I never worked in an ad agency. I'm not the service provider. I'm the chief marketing officer. I'm in charge of making the marketing decisions. So my first instinct was to tell them no. If you want to hire me to run marketing, and they said, no, there are no marketing jobs. We just need help. We have a trade show or we have a product launch, but you know what to do. You helped our other business. Can't you just help me? So I called all the people that I had worked with at Coca-Cola, at Procter & Gamble, at the startups. I had people, I had projects, and I put them together. So I called the women the marketing mavens and the guys the marketing moguls. And my working name for the group was Mavens and Moguls. And my original vision was that we would come together and form teams based on what clients needed from a real-world practitioner's standpoint. Unlike a traditional consulting firm or agency, we were not going to put together fancy PowerPoint and give advice. We were going to roll up our sleeves and help these companies be successful because we were the client in a previous life. We're not a service provider in a traditional sense. We were the marketing department. So we just became an extension of our client's team, and we became the voice of the customer, and the advice that we gave them was the same advice we would have used when we were working as the client. My initial goal or vision was that I really believed that every business, regardless of size or budget, deserved to have great marketing advice and talent. And so I knew I had worked with some fantastic marketers in my career and that we could help businesses that were trying to make a difference in the world. We could help them be more successful. And that really never changed from the very beginning. I knew I had the right people. I knew that we had the right expertise, and I knew we could help on an outsourced as needed basis. They didn't need to bring us in as employees. We could just be a partner and come in and do what they needed and then get out of the way. So we taught them how to fish. We did not fish for them. We wanted them to learn and keep moving forward. And we've had the same philosophy from the beginning. You learn to do by doing.
Well Built was really born out of my desire to build a business that was 100% dedicated to improving the building industry. I had been working for a generalist company where they service, insurance companies and banks and software companies and construction companies. And that world, I was running a highly specialized practice inside this business that was very committed to being a generalist business. And there were a lot of clashes with that. I frequently felt like what I wanted to be doing for my clients, I couldn't fully do for my clients, or I didn't have the support of my company to do for my clients. I didn't have the people, the resources, so on. And so when I launched Well Built, I made the decision to dedicate everything that we do to this one industry, this one world that desperately needs our help, that I've got fantastic relationships and reputation already built, but where I can go from being one person that helps this group to building an entire team of pros that can help this group.
5.
So in terms of the vision for the company, it's a SEO agency for anyone who doesn't know, D2C specific, so direct to consumer. It got to the point where we were doing our own SEO on our own brands internally, and we had so many people asking me directly, hey, can you do our SEO? Can you do our SEO? And I was just like, no, we only work on our own brands. And it got to the point where we were like, oh, actually, this might be a viable thing. We could use part of our team and kind of build this out further. So the vision kind of developed from that. It wasn't the sense of I had a vision originally to then do that and then grew into that. It evolved as we went, like the path laid itself out.
No matter what industry you're in, the success of a new business relies heavily on promotion. Still, with so many options available, knowing where to begin and what works can be tricky. We ask the experts.
1.
For D2C SEO agencies specifically, there's been two main ways that we've brought business in. The main one has been through my own network. So people just getting to the point of begging, please can you do our SEO? So that's obviously been great because our cost to acquire the customer has been extremely low, next to none. The other side of things has been the meta ads. So creating some organic content, putting spend behind it. But then the main thing has been where they land. So we have a landing page that has a VSL. So a video sales letter, which is roughly 15 minutes long of me talking about SEO with a presentation showing our different experience and everything like that. And then that goes to a booking form and then we hop on a call from there. So that has been very, very effective in really building the trust before we get on the initial call.
2.
I think the hardest part for a company like ours is bootstrapped, is you don't have a lot of money to put into marketing. As a marketing agency, we manage millions of dollars for our clients in terms of what their media spend is going to be, and they have, personnel and creative and all the different things, right? And we didn't have all of that. And so, I do think that word of mouth plays a role in the early days, and just initial hustle from the founders. One of the great sayings is do things that don't scale. Right. And so for us, it was go in, make 100 phone calls, talk to everyone that we know about what it is we're doing, about our services, and ask for referrals or anything to just get that initial business going. And then over time, what we built was a network of ambassadors where we would give out a referral fee to anyone for referring us business. And we brought in, one of the other things I did was brought in advisors, people who I thought were well connected in the industry and who could bring clients to us. And I gave them a piece. I gave them a small advisor share of the company, and some of them I paid cash outright because I knew that those folks were going to be able to bring us business as well. And so I think those early days is you just need to get that traction. You need to get that initial cash flow coming in and then reinvest that into some of the more traditional channels.
3.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that I've done that have worked well, but probably none better than being a dedicated authority content creator and someone who makes it my mission to create useful, inspirational, ideally immediately actionable advice so that when people get exposure to what I'm all about, they seek out my advice, even though we don't know each other. And so what that's led to is a lot of people reaching out to me, and it seems like they already know me, which is it's a lot of it's pretty cool, because they do. They have their own relationship with me, and even though we've not met, they've certainly spent a lot of time with me.
4.
Well, we do it in a strategic way. We do a lot of sponsoring of events where people who are going to be purchasing our unique services are going to be. So if you can imagine, we need CEOs, we need C-suite individuals, people who run organizations within companies, run organizations within their nonprofits, run organizations within their institutions. We need to be where they are. So perhaps we are sponsoring a nonprofit event that is a golf tournament, and we'll sponsor a hole. We put our name there. We'd be a major sponsor of the museum that many people sit as board of directors on. So we try to position ourselves, and a lot of it is just natural marketing to me. And I sit on a few boards, and those relative positions on those boards have garnered me the opportunity to shake hands and meet with individuals and then pitch what we do for a living. right? Pitch what I do. And so it's authentic, it's consistency. And I will say this, consistency beats creativity every day. So show up with value regularly and your audience will stick with you no matter what. And so when you're building a brand, again, it's not about the logo, it's the promise you make. And networking is less about selling and is more about building real connections and relationships. And I say that over and over and over. So we're in the business of developing those connections. We're in the business of networking. So when we talk about my marketing strategy, it's about seeing real people and having people see us.
5.
Well, I'll start with starting up on a budget. How do I advertise my business if I start up on a budget? You need advertising. Advertising and accounting are two critical ingredients to your business. Never mind making those pies that are so special. What I did was I teamed up with a person who was way up there in this ad firm, who was a customer of ours. And I said to him, would you do this? Would you do my logo? Would you do my brochures? Would you give me this stuff and I'll work out some way with you over time? I'll pay you now what I can, I'll pay you whatever, however. So you barter sometimes. You do things that you need to do to get advertising and high quality advertising. Don't just go with the cheapest person. You got to see their work, and the quality of work will make you, especially in the beginning. It'll make you or give you a perception of being cheap or bad or whatever. You want to have the best quality, thought-provoked advertising help without hiring an ad agency. Then you will hire advertising. I have a chief marketing officer now. We do things like that at Cartidge World. But the reality is you want to make sure that you team up with an advertising person who's a professional. And then you can put that in the old days it was newspapers. Today it's going to be constant contact emails. It's going to be emailing from you a link, a video with Anna, a discussion on why she does business with me. It's going to be pay-per-click. Again, people order from Amazon or Google just sitting in the chair. So you've got to make sure that your storefront is there. And that means organic, that means a paid, so you got your organic with your address. You want to go paid advertising also because it brings you higher into the choice when people look for you. So you've got to get to, and there will be startups in the digital marketing area. Let's say somebody just got out of college and they're working at an ad firm, but they're really hip to this social media, SEO, pay-per-click. You want to sit with that person and have them help you. And figure out a plan where you can help them. Don't forget, they could advertise that they do your advertising. There's things like that work together. Going to the associations and buying coffee for your client that you want to get, the whole group of clients, it'll cost you $50 or $100, but you buy coffee and donuts. At least you stand up for 5 minutes and say, this is me, this is Greg Carafello, this is what we're about at Cartidge World, this is why we want to earn your business, etc. And you have to be much more creative, very creative, on a very short budget in the beginning.
The Best of Business Show is brought to you by the BASA Awards. The BASA Awards exist to recognize, reward, and promote exceptional small businesses. We run 4 award programs: Best of America, Best of Australia, Best of Canada, Best of UK. Remember, it's strictly for small businesses only. Nominate your business today.